What if your handwriting could get you physically punished? Not corrected. Punished. Not for cheating. Not for fighting. Just for how your letters looked on a page. It sounds unreal now, but for thousands of children across Britain, it was just another school day. Picture this: rows of desks, cold wooden floors beneath your feet, the faint smell of ink in the air, and a classroom where silence wasn't requested, it was enforced. This wasn't just education, it was control. Back then, classrooms weren't designed for comfort or creativity. They were built on order, obedience, and unquestioned authority. Children sat upright, hands still, speaking only when permitted. A single mistake, however small, could bring consequences that today would shock most parents. Schools were overcrowded, sometimes with nearly 50 pupils packed into one room. Resources were stretched thin, patience even thinner, and so discipline became the backbone of everything. Teachers weren't just educators, they were authority figures you didn't challenge. Many had military backgrounds, and that influence shaped how they ran their classrooms: strict, structured, and unforgiving. Parents? They rarely intervened. If anything, they reinforced the system. The belief was simple: toughness builds character, fear teaches respect. But what did that actually look like in practice? That's where things take a darker turn. And if you enjoy uncovering forgotten slices of British history like this, you might find yourself right at home with Hidden Plates, UK. And subscribe this YouTube channel. For many children, punishment wasn't theoretical. It was physical, immediate, and unforgettable. Take the slipper, not soft or harmless, but a heavy gym shoe, often swung with force. It wasn't symbolic, it hurt, and that was the point. Then there was the ruler, not for measuring lines, but for striking them, across knuckles or open palms. The sting could bring even the toughest pupils to tears, and above all, the cane. Reserved for what were considered serious offenses, talking back, swearing, or even something as minor as incorrect uniform, it was delivered with cold precision. Students were sent to the headmaster, where punishment was carried out quickly and without discussion. This wasn't rare, it was routine. And perhaps the most surprising part? Many parents supported it. Pain wasn't seen as excessive, it was seen as necessary, a tool to shape behavior, a way to prepare children for the real world. But physical punishment wasn't the only method used. In some ways, what came next left an even deeper mark. Not all discipline left bruises, some left something far more lasting. Imagine being made to stand facing a wall while the rest of the class continues behind you. You hear whispers, laughter, movement, but you're cut off, on display without even being seen, or being forced to wear a sign announcing your mistake for everyone to read. Then there were names written publicly for all to see, on boards that stayed up for days. Late arrivals, talkers, daydreamers, labeled and remembered. And the lines, endless repetition of the same sentence, written hundreds, sometimes thousands, of times until your hand cramped and your mind blurred. I must not talk in class. Over and over until the words lost meaning. But the lesson didn't. Some punishments crossed into something almost surreal. A child who wasted food might be forced to retrieve it and eat it anyway. Right there, in front of everyone. It wasn't just about correcting behavior, it was about making sure no one else dared to repeat it. And just when you think it couldn't get more extreme, it did. Some punishments from that era sound almost fictional today, but they were very real. In certain schools, especially boarding environments, misbehaving students could be subjected to freezing cold showers, not for cleanliness, but as a form of shock and control. Mealtimes weren't always a break either. Silence could be strictly enforced. Speak out of turn, and something as small as dessert could be taken away. Then there was the dunce hat, a pointed cap designed to mark a child as less capable. Worn at the front of the class, it turned mistakes into public identity. In some rural schools, children who forgot proper footwear were sent outside barefoot, even in winter conditions. And sometimes, punishment came disguised as sarcasm. A student labeled as overly eager might find an apple placed on their desk, not as praise, but as mockery. At the time, none of this stood out as unusual. It was normal, expected, accepted, but acceptance doesn't always mean harmless, because while some people look back and laugh, others remember something very different. For some, these memories have softened with time. They've become stories, shared over tea, told with a half smile. Different times, people say, it made us tougher. But not everyone sees it that way. For many, the impact didn't fade. It shaped how they viewed authority, confidence, even their own voice. Some learned discipline, but others learned fear. And the truth is, most teachers believed they were doing the right thing. They were continuing a system they themselves had experienced. The line between guidance and harm wasn't always clear, and often it wasn't questioned. Now step into a modern classroom. The difference is immediate. Today, discipline focuses on understanding, communication, and emotional well-being. Teachers guide rather than command. Students are encouraged to speak, not stay silent. So here's the real question. Have we improved the system, or simply replaced one set of problems with another? And more importantly, what do you remember? Were your school days strict, fair, or something in between? Share your experience below. Your story isn't just a comment, it's a piece of history that helps others understand how far we've come and what we might have left behind. And if this video made you think differently, pass it on, because these conversations matter more than we realize.